part. We're just going live to Russian President Vladimir Putin. He is addressing the annual year-end address in Moscow. Let's listen.
Soldiers who didn't get a command to withdraw either, and they have no chances whatsoever. They are heavily encircled by the Russian armed forces. And once it happens, once our units have completed their task, they will move further west. I'm confident that by the end of the year, we will have seen new successes by our armed forces, by our soldiers, by our warriors at the line of contact. And what about Seversk? What is the current state of affairs? And why was it so difficult to take this settlement? You must have seen, you must have heard the briefing of the head of the general staff, as well as the head of the group of forces, the group of armies, the commander, as well as the head of the brigade that is engaged in hostilities there. I asked him, what's your current take on the situation in Seversk? Are you firmly in control? He said, Mr. President, we are moving even further west, 1.5, 2 kilometers. My brigade has already made that movement in the west, and this movement is continuing. You probably remember there was this briefing on Seversk, and we had a report of the assault group from the spot, from Seversk. If you remember, at the end, I asked them to change their position as soon as possible once the report was over. And I think it was yesterday, because time is flying by. We had a meeting at the Ministry of Defense, and once the collegium was over, there was an award ceremony for our warriors. Was it yesterday or the day before yesterday? Yeah, there was an award ceremony for those who participated in the liberation of Seversk, and once that was over, I went back to the Kremlin, to my office, and I asked the head of the assault group to come by, see me, because I wanted to talk to him about the current agenda. I do that from time to time when an opportunity presents itself. And we also had a meeting on the preparations for today's event, and he came straight to the room of the Security Council, and I asked him to say a couple of words so that every colleague can hear what's the current state of affairs in Seversk, how it happened, and he started recounting, just a couple of words, very briefly. And once he went away, colleagues asked whether we could invite him to the direct line. I said, well, you can ask him, but his leave is not that long, so, we phoned him, and he's here. He agreed. Naran Alexeyevich. There he is. Naran, is that correct? Yes, please, be seated. Take your seat, yeah. Am I correct? Is this how this happened? Yes. If you've got any questions about what is happening in Seversk and how the liberation took place, you can ask him directly. I think it's going to be better. Let's give a round of applause to a hero of Russia. Let's welcome him. Naran Alexeyevich, we saw you during that TV bridge, but we don't know you personally. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Where are you from? How long have you been participating in the special military operation? Where did you start? I'm from Kalmykia. I started from Solidar. First, I was just an soldier, and now I'm head of the sword unit. Well, he started just as a driver, and right now he is the head of an assault unit, and more than 80 people are under his command. And he's also a hero of the Russian Federation. Don't be modest. Naran Alexeyevich, colleagues, journalists, must have seen this this meeting between President and yourself and the colleagues. The communication was spotty at best because of the signal. Right now, we've got more time. And could you tell us a little bit about how Seversk was liberated? We would very much like to learn how it happened. Of course, share what you can share, what your soldiers did. I can repeat my question. I said when he came to the room of the Security Council, what was the most difficult? Well, the most difficult thing was to get to Seversk in secret, because, you know, these were open fields. There were no natural shelters. That's why a decision had been made to move in small groups, clandestinely, and we managed to perform this task. We managed to accumulate forces right under the nose of the adversary, and once the accumulation happened, we waited for the command to start assault. There were many civilians that were staying in Seversk. What was the attitude of the armed forces of Ukraine to civilians? For quite some time, the civilians had been living, how shall I put it? Well, yes, they've been living in fear under the pressure of the adversary, and once we managed to liberate our zone, that was our responsibility. We started to